Smorgasbord Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the SmorgasBord Radio Show, SmorgShow Podcast, episode 126. And this is July 10th, 2021, for a very, very special episode. We have the original co-host of the SmorgShow Podcast back in the studio.
Hello.
Hello, stranger.
I have arrived, and later than you. Like, normally I have beaten you in the past, and you've beat me for once. You got here first.
I did.
How's it going?
I was worried that you wouldn't know how to get back here. It's been a while. I can't remember the last time you were on. At first, I was thinking it was April of last year for the Echo Smith interview, but then I remembered we did do one show together while lockdown was happening. I think we did the Dave. Were you here for when we brought in Dave and Jerry remotely?
I might have been here for that. I think I do.
A portion of it.
Yes, I do remember that, because I do remember having just an episode where we were just reflecting on everything that was going on and just how it was affecting our daily life, and I do remember talking with Dave and Jerry. So, yeah, so it was probably about a year ago, I think early summer, something like that.
Yeah, it's been a very long time, and a lot has happened since you were here last.
I feel like we've had 10 years of history crammed into a year.
And I'd like to go a little through that today with you, but I'm going to move over to Studio B, my other seat.
Which is 2 feet away.
Yeah.
All right.
Here we go. And
so is this microphone working?
It is. It looks like it is.
Good. So you fixed the connection that was loose or whatever.
I did nothing.
Oh,
I don't know why I wasn't working on the last episode.
All right.
But as you know, you've been listening to the show, so thanks for being a loyal fan.
I'm a very loyal listener.
You know that depending on who's out here, whether it's Dave or Jerry, we typically have a portion of the show that we kind of crap.
Yeah.
we do a little bit of that too. We crack open either a beer or whiskey is flowing, or coffee. If Dave's out here, he doesn't really drink much anymore. So we go to the coffee house together. We're going to do something a little different. Since you're my daughter, it would be inappropriate for me to start pouring the whiskey for us. So
even though I get to actually sit here and admire the little barrel here, like the whiskey barrel.
That's right. Your fiance got this for me for Christmas, and it's been used ever since.
It's been put to great use.
Yeah, you can see the stash over here. I've got this squirrel.
Wow, you've got a hidden stash that
nobody
knew about.
I'm not an alcoholic.
Your wife and daughter had no idea.
This is the peanut butter whiskey, and then I've got the salty watermelon whiskey.
So that peanut butter whiskey, it's a different brand than the old smoky. Right?
Yeah,
that's
Jerry gave this to me because apparently the smoky has dairy in it. You wouldn't think dairy would be in the peanut butter whiskey.
Interesting.
This one I think doesn't.
So this is 100% vegan whiskey.
It's vegan whiskey. And then of course we've got the moonshine. None of it is going to be cracked open today. What did you bring us?
I brought us sarsaparillas, and because we were, I think, talking about the Renaissance Fair recently.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, a signature thing at the Renaissance Fair is you go and you get the sarsaparilla, which is kind of like a licorice root beer a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like root beer with like a hint of licorice. And then, of course, the big turkey legs there, too. And
I love the
I didn't
legs.
bring those, but I brought the sarsaparillas. So
Can you hand me a coaster?
yes.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So Allie and I have been, we started the show over 11 years ago, and you were about 12.
Yeah, we started 2010, and I was still 11. I hadn't turned 12 yet. So,
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that was over 11 years ago.
over 11 years ago. And here we are, episode 126. It took over 11 years to get to 126. That's where you are now. And
I have to ask, where, I mean, when we first started, the very first episode was in the kitchen. So I know at that moment in time, it was like, hey, let's just play around with the recording equipment. But then when we started having, episode 2, episode 3, where we had a little bit more structure to the episodes, how far were you anticipating it going? Like, how many episodes? Like, would it have come to us as a surprise to you then if it was, hey, like, you're eventually going to get to episode 126? I mean, did you foresee that?
I had no idea how long it was going to go. And if you had told me then, rather than focus on how many episodes you think, how long do you think you'll do this? If you told me I'd be doing this 10, 11 years from now, I was like, I don't know if I would believe you not. Maybe I would have. Maybe because I just know that this has always been my passion and I would have done it.
Right.
And of course we fell off.
It's taken on different forms too. It's evolved into different things. It's kind of had different phases or different seasons of the show,
Yeah. So the first year we were religious about doing it every single week. In fact, I think almost the second year I think we started to do maybe every other week, and then it became every third week. And then I think there's a few years where we only had a couple episodes, and then we came back. I think 2018, we started doing this more regularly. It still is more of on a monthly basis now, but you're right. It's gone through phases. Obviously last year after I think it really started to change when you went off to high school and college, especially.
Yeah. And just getting more busy with things.
Yeah.
But I have to say that even in the years that like we didn't do regular episodes, we always did the radio plays.
Right.
We kind of, maybe it was like, we would put time towards a project and then be excited about releasing that project.
Yeah.
And then maybe record a short little introduction to that or whatever. And so it never really went away, but it definitely looked different. And it's like, the people that are still out there listening, I wonder how many of the original listeners are still hanging on.
I know.
I'm telling you, they're not in Iran.
Yeah, that's right. We're banned in Iran, Syria, North Korea, and Cuba.
You should have a plaque in the studio.
A map.
Yeah.
Just cross it off.
Just keep adding on to the list when it increases.
We're working on it. So let's just quickly go through what you've been doing the last year. So you got a wedding coming up, but before we even get to the wedding talk, you moved out. Tell us all about your apartment living experience.
Yeah. So I moved out. Well, actually, the timing of that was different than I initially thought because, everything was just up in the air last year because of, the lockdown and, job situations just looking different for everybody. And but anyway, I ended up moving out in September, I think. September 20th or something was when I first moved out to a 1-bedroom apartment, actually in the same town as you with your first apartment, right?
Yeah,
like
you're
that.
just a couple miles down the road.
Your old stomping grounds near all of your favorite pizza places and whatnot.
Some of them are still around.
So it's kind of full circle for you. But yeah, so I moved into a 1-bedroom, and it was weird at first because it's like, wow, like this is my place. Like I'm paying for this. This is like, and then, you start to treat things better and be a little more conservative with, how much water you're using and like how often the AC is on and like all the things, now I understand why I would be yelled at if I left the lights on when I was done in the room that, as a kid.
So you're paying, when you do your utilities, you have electric bill. Are you getting a water bill?
That's
kind of
lumped
a shared,
into,
like a monthly?
It's lumped into, well, I do notice that it's not always the same number each month. It's, and it's actually been higher. I wonder if I can't remember. Cause I have rent, and then, I've got like ComEd, which is just it auto charges my card. And then I've got a utilities bill from the apartment complex, and that's like gas, trash, water, that kind of thing. And those numbers usually vary, and I think that's dependent on my water usage or lately like air conditioning. Is air conditioning? Oh yeah, that would be utilities, not energy bill. Yeah. So I forget where I was going with that.
I think I just asked you kind of like, does it vary in cost? Like you said, you were watching the water, and I was thinking, well, maybe you don't really pay for water.
It is
Yeah.
different each month, so
Yeah.
I can't leave the sink running. Not that I do that, but or I gotta my shower can't be too long. But no, but I started. What I really liked when I first moved out was creating, making the space my own and like the interior decorating, and I am in walking distance to a Hobby Lobby. So that was fun, and then I also really liked grocery shopping and meal planning, and I've gotten really creative with cooking. Like
You have.
I think my cooking skills have greatly improved, and it's nice, and it's funny to like early on in the evening be like, oh, I wonder, I have to think ahead about dinner, because it's like you got to plan it out, and if you're hungry at 7:30, you're not going to eat at 7:30. Like you really got to.
Mom doesn't have it on the table waiting for you.
So it's like, well, I'm anticipating being hungry at 7:30, so that means I got to rewind and make dinner. Yeah. So
yeah. No, I think you've been handling yourself extremely well. I'm really proud of you, and going over to your apartment, and it just seems like it's a home. It's you've carved this out. It's all your personality. It's your style. It's your space.
Yeah, it's and in some ways it feels like I upgraded in terms of spatial like size, because living at home, my space was my room, and not only is my bedroom in this apartment actually bigger than my childhood bedroom, but then now I've got 700 square feet instead of just my little room.
Yeah.
It's
any run-ins with the neighbors? Any strange stories you want to call out?
Well, I don't know if they're listening. No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, there's always interest. Anytime you're just
apartment.
You're aware of how weird people are when like the walls are thin. Like
you hear conversations.
Yeah, or just
Yeah.
Yeah. My biggest complaint with living there is just how slow maintenance is.
Mm-hmm.
That for 3 months, my oven wasn't working, even though I was going in person and reporting it and making phone calls to report it, and submitting maintenance requests online, and like pretty much every avenue of like submitting maintenance requests. They just were not doing anything about it. So I had to get creative with like stovetop, meals and that kind of thing. And so they finally fixed it. And but it's weird that, so that's my biggest complaint, is just slow maintenance.
And while all this is going on, you've been running a business. You're piano teaching.
Which has really taken off. I have the most students I've ever had. I teach mostly piano students, and I've but also some voice and ukulele. But a majority of my students are piano. And I'm actually looking to because so my piano business, I actually drive to students' homes, and I was doing online, with everything happening last year and everything. But now I'm back to being in almost everyone's home again. But I've never had a name for my business at all, and it's like my goal is maybe by the end of the summer, launching a website that's got a name for my business, and like a website where my policies are on there, and like it just looks a little bit more official, and something that when people ask me about, I'd love to find out more information, something a little more professional than writing my name down on a Post-it note, like maybe having some business cards or a website to refer them to, because I've really realized in this last year what my ultimate dream would be to, like, down the road, is to, wherever we're settled and living, for me to open up my own brick and mortar music studio, like lesson studio, and not just confined to piano, but all kinds of instruments, and maybe having an early childhood music program, and that sort of thing. And so with thinking of the name for my lessons business now, I don't want it to be limited to just piano, because the long-term goal is that, hey, this is going to expand to awesome. a bigger thing with a bunch of instruments. So
that sounds exciting.
Yeah, so that's been been fun to see that grow, and even with everything last year, it's like it didn't kill my piano business, and I was really grateful for that.
Yeah, you came out of that pretty well. And of course, while all that's going on, you've got yet another activity.
Yes. So another thing to keep me very occupied. And what's really interesting about this is, so we got engaged in 2019. about it was actually like, yeah, it was just, we just hit the 2-year mark in June. And we had already been planning to get married in 2021, you know, for the sake of like, you know, saving up and, you know, finishing out school, getting a little bit more kind of settled, you know what I mean? So already giving ourselves enough time to plan. And people were like, oh, why are you waiting so long? But then with everything last year, it was like, now I'm so glad that we waited to 2021 instead of 2020.
You really lucked out.
Because we were actually the first couple to book our date with the venue that we chose. We were the first names in their books for 2021. They're like, oh, you're the first couple that has you know, chosen us for a 2021 wedding, which I'm so glad we did, because all of the couples that were supposed to get married in 2020 were all pushing their wedding out to 2021. And I was hearing that like venues were like completely filled up, and it was like impossible to find a space for this year. Like 2021 is totally booked up, because not only is it couples that wanted to get married in 2021, but it's also 2020 couples that needed to postpone. So it really lucked out. Like we were very fortunate.
So you lucked out from the college angle, because you graduated a semester early, which is the end of 2019.
Exactly. So I didn't even have to.
Everything shut down, and you would have to do remote learning in the last semester. You didn't have to worry about that. And now you lucked out on the other end with the wedding.
Right, I know. So I feel very blessed.
Wow. So this is, we're getting into some serious territory here. We're 2 months out.
I know. Yeah.
And you have, well, we're actually recording this on 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just delaying the airing of this because we put the other episode on yesterday. But this week, you are having a series of events, as I understand, leading up to your shower. What do you've got going? You've got some sort of a makeup tryout practice?
Yeah, well, let me take you through the week.
You take me through the week.
So Monday, so that's tomorrow, because we're recording this on Sunday the 4th. Tomorrow, we, which is the exact 2-month mark, the 5th, we are meeting our wedding planner at the venue. Like we're meeting her like on the property, like on the farm, and we're just kind of touching base with her, because now we've like booked all the vendors, we've got everything locked in. We're just kind of hearing from her, okay, what are the next things we should be doing? I think we're gonna kind of get a better idea of like the layout of the ceremony, and get a better idea of like what direction am I going to be walking from, what's it going to look like, and kind of walking through those details. So I'm excited about that, because it's going to become really real, and like, you know, be more like, you know, actually, you know, there at the scene of, I was about to say scene of the crime. That sounds bad. No, at the actual, you know, place. And we're meeting her at 5:30. And I was thinking that like, okay, so 5:30 in July is probably, the ceremony is going to be at 4 o'clock, and it's in September. I wonder if 5:30 in July, if the sun is in about the same position as it'll be 4 o'clock in September. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm going to get an idea of what the venue, of what the farm is going to look like at the time of the ceremony. Yeah. Maybe. So that'll be kind of cool. So that's Monday. Then Tuesday, I've got my second dress fitting. And then my maid of honor and I are getting our nails done that morning, because we want to have nice nails for like the weekend coming up. I'm having my second fitting, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be the last one, because there weren't too many alterations that needed to be done.
That's good.
And then Thursday, what's happening Thursday? I feel like that's Thursday is my hair and makeup trial. Yeah. So that's, I've got photos of kind of what I want to do, and there's a salon on site at the venue. Everything's at the venue. It's very convenient.
Yeah.
So there's a salon there, and the daughter of the owner of the venue does the hair and makeup. So I'm gonna be getting an idea for that on Thursday, and then Friday's my bachelorette party.
Yeah.
And
what's planned for that? Do you know?
So so there's some stuff that's a surprise that I don't know about, but it starts at 2 in the afternoon. We're gonna be going to Pinot's Palette, and if people don't know what that is, it's basically you go and there's like painting lessons, like you paint a canvas you walk away with like an actual like really nice painting. You get an art lesson. It's 2 hours, and then they serve wine the whole time. So it's a very popular thing with the ladies. Ladies go there, like they bring a group of friends, and then like they're drinking wine and painting and like that kind of thing. So
Wow.
So we're starting with that. And then we're going to go back to my maid of honor's house, and she's got like some fun themed cocktails that she's going to make and some fun games. She's put together a bridal Jeopardy game, which I don't know about, but it's like I've heard that it's fun and it's clever and it's personal and so we're going to have fun, but we're not going to get too inebriated because the next morning is the shower.
I've been involved, not so much in the planning purposes, but I've been here listening to the planning going on.
It's
kind of
like Father of the Bride when he doesn't have any say in the decisions, but he gets the bill.
Yeah, just tell me when the checks are due. Yeah, I've been faithfully handing over the checks. But
I have a problem with that movie because they're so disrespectful to him, and he wants to know what am I paying for, and they're like, oh, you're so annoying asking about how much everything is, and it's like the poor guy just wants to know.
I know,
so he doesn't go into debt.
Yeah, a couple episodes ago, when Dave was here and we were talking about, I brought up that movie. I said that was the first time I had watched that movie that I could actually relate to it as the father of the bride, and it was the first time I saw it through that lens.
Yeah. And what's funny is I was viewing it through the lens of like, man, she's a really annoying bride. Like
she was.
It's kind of like as a kid when you watch, like I'm thinking of like The Little Mermaid, and she's like, Daddy, I'm not a little kid anymore, but like she's 16 and she's like, oh my gosh, like I actually side with the parents in a lot of the shows now. Like,
Yeah, you're cycle of life. That's
right.
So my only task is, besides paying whenever I can, is to actually write the speech.
Well, and walk with me down the aisle.
That's right. That's important.
That's my favorite part of all weddings. I always cry at that part of the ceremonies.
Well, I'll probably do the same. So family's coming in this week. We've been preparing the house, doing some upgrades and some cleaning and getting the lawn done, and just we want to get the house nice for everybody. So I think your grandma comes here Wednesday, and then I got the family coming in on Friday. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, the tux fit. I'm going for my tux fitting next Sunday.
Oh, how exciting.
So yeah, that'll be interesting. I'll see how styles are out there.
Yeah. And you're going with your dad.
Yeah.
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 And he's got good taste, so
yeah, that's why
he'll steer you in the right direction.
That's right. Yeah. So this is getting really real. We're 2 months out, and
I know, and it's gonna fly by too, because it's like, I feel like we've been talking about it for so long, and then it's like you have so much time planning, and then it's like you blink and it's like, wait, what happened?
I feel like New Year's Eve was just here. We were talking about we were 8 months away.
I know. Me
and
too.
Actually what happened was we lost a month in a matter of 5 minutes, because we're thinking New Year's Eve is like September. Oh, we got 9 months till the wedding. And then somebody says, no, we're actually 8 months away from the start of September.
Yeah, and then we all were like, in a panic because
9 months we had plenty of time to do things. 8 months, whoa.
Right. I got to check the wedding checklist and like,
checklist.
We're 1 month behind on the things that the magazines are recommending we do.
Yeah. So do you feel like you're on pace with everything?
I actually don't feel too stressed at the moment. Like
That'll change.
Which I'm a little worried about, because I'm afraid I'm forgetting something. But I mean, we've booked all of the main things, and that was the stress in the beginning, was, oh my gosh, we can't wait too long to book the photographer or the caterer or whatever, because you don't want the date to fill up and then you can't find anybody. So the fact that all the big moving parts are booked, it's like, okay, there's not really a time limit with those things. Now it's kind of just, okay, now we're making all of the payments for like we just paid the 50% amount for the catering. So now it's like, okay, a lot of payments are due. But in terms of I feel like there's not really too much to do right now, but I think I'll get a better idea when we meet with the wedding planner tomorrow, because she's like on top of things. She's really organized. Like she'll tell us exactly like, okay, get this done, she'll spell it out for us.
Well, I
So,
took a drive out to the venue yesterday because it's actually that's the last thing I wanted to talk about was the style of the wedding that you're having. You're having it at a farm,
yes,
live at the barn.
right. A little bit more. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this because I know rustic is like a huge popular thing. Like that's the farmhouse, the rustic, like that's the theme for interior decorating and for weddings and everything. And I want to say that there's still a lot of nice elements that we have. Like I'm not going to be wearing cowgirl boots, and I know some people like to do that with their wedding dress, and they can do whatever they want. I'm not going to be wearing cowgirl boots with my wedding dress because sometimes when you tell people, oh, I'm getting married at a barn, you picture horse poop, and it's like it's a really nice venue, and actually it's a family owned farm. Like they live on that property, and they actually race their horses in the Kentucky Derby each year, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful, and it's like you have just the landscape with like the fields and like all the trees and rolling hills. It's like the epitome of Illinois.
Yeah.
You
Well, it should be beautiful. Let's pray for good weather. But September in surrounded by the cornfields, and it should be beautiful.
Yeah, it's on Labor Day weekend. Way in the beginning when we were tossing around possible dates, we were toying around between Memorial Day weekend or Labor Day weekend because we wanted to do a Sunday wedding.
Mm-hmm. Or people traveling in.
It's cheaper to do. It's cheaper to do. Book on a Sunday than a Saturday wedding, but it feels like a Saturday because then that Monday everyone's off. So anyway, we ended up going with Labor Day weekend because I feel like Memorial Day weekend it usually rains. And then Labor Day, I've always loved September. I love September weather. So, I'm excited.
So on the last episode, I was going to shame Jerry for not RSVPing, and then I realized that we had shipped his invitation to the wrong address. So I had to back off of my criticism. But we did get him to RSVP live on the show, and I've got to commend you. The website kind of reminded me of the experience when you go on a ride at, let's say Disney World, where you go through it. And in order to exit, you have to walk through the gift shop.
Oh,
so he RSVPs, and then like the next thing is like you're in the gift registry.
Oh, yeah. Well, it doesn't like directly link you to there. You have to actually click on the tab that says registry.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't get people that way. But it's just all on one website. And
yeah,
it's very
really
handy.
it's.
But
great.
I've gotten great feedback on the website because, we've got a collage of photos on there that looks nice, and we had some people that were like, "Oh, we really enjoyed reading about your story about how you met and like all this stuff." So. The wedding scene is there's so much creativity out there, but I really like kind of this phase we're in where like you can RSVP on a website like one click away. You can do everything online instead of having to worry about
return envelopes,
about postage for everybody, and then people aren't gonna send those back, and then you wasted money on postage.
And somebody's got to be on the receiving end of those. When they get returned and they have to compile and keep track and
right, I'd rather just my phone buzzes and then it's like hey Jerry RSVP'd. So I got an alert when Jerry RSVP'd.
Yeah, well, I took Dave out there a few weeks ago onto the venue, and then Jerry yesterday, so that I'm sure those guys will find it, but I could just see them getting lost in the middle of the cornfields. Because neither one of them, well, I guess they have GPS on their phones.
Yeah, they get around.
They get around. They're good. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I can't be worrying about them and who's showing up. But yeah. So yeah, I always said, well, I'm going to start working on the speech after the family leaves for the shower. So I guess that's coming up. So that's my next thing.
Yeah. Do you have a draft, or are you gonna?
I got nothing. I did my research. We did the episode on how to write the speech.
That's right.
So I'm using those guidelines. Yeah. I've got some things in my mind that I want to put down. But yeah, I think it'll start to get real for me once I just start.
Crack open a beer.
There you go. I'll write it under the influence.
I mean, I thought that would get things flowing.
It might. Well, I don't know if this might be your last time on the show before you are a married gal.
We might squeeze another one in.
Yeah,
for
it's
him,
going to be tight, but we've got 2 months, and
I know.
we
Yeah.
might get one more show in here before September. We'll see, but I'm just glad you were able to get out here. This is like old times.
Yeah, I know. I love it, and we still got our mojo.
We do. Natural flow just comes back.
Yes.
Done this so much. We're professionals. Well, as you know, Baba has been doing this wedding planner series, and I think he's got his last installment, the last of 3.
All right. It's been extremely helpful. I've been taking notes.
Okay, good. Maybe you can take something from his tips today. I think he's talking about wedding vows. So I think that's very appropriate as we're starting to come up on the date.
Yes.
Once we get back from Baba, we have a very special feature today. As you know, Phillip Donald will be back in the studio, and I hear word that his van has arrived out front. So perfect timing.
Big stuff happening.
That's right. So
buckle up.
Buckle up. We'll be right back. This is the SmorgShow podcast. Hello, everybody. This is Baba Gonesh, your wedding planner. That is right. This is week number 3 of 3 installments. First week, we talked about the arranged marriage. Week number 2, we talked about wedding custom FAQs. Now, we are talking about the wedding vows. We are getting very serious and very close to the actual day that Ali will be married herself. So this is helpful if you are having a Hindu wedding. A Hindu marriage has 7 vows, a tried and tested formula for a happy marriage. But these principles can apply to any religious ceremony. According to Hindu beliefs, marriages are made in heaven, and once the marriage is solemnized, the 2 souls are joined for 7 lifetimes. The 7 vows of marriage are the 7 promises which the bride and groom make to each other for a happy and prosperous life. They are bound together by an unseen bond protected by these promising words. Without exaggeration, the 7 vows can be said to contain the crux of an ideal marriage that is to be practiced by the bride and groom. These vows are recited by the bride and groom while they revolve around the sacred fire 7 times. Cherish these vows and remember them during all of your ups and downs together, for they are the glue to your marriage. Vow number 1, basic necessities. The groom will say, "You will offer me food and be helpful in every way. I will cherish you and provide welfare and happiness for you and our children." And the bride replies, "I am responsible for the home and all household, food, and finance responsibilities." Pretty woke, right? Who knew that the loopholes that allow Indian women to pursue careers are built into 7 vows of Hindu marriage? Vow number 2, house and family. The groom says, "Together we will protect our house and children." Bride, "I will be by your side as your courage and strength. I will rejoice in your happiness. In return, you will love me solely." This is one of the 7 vows of Hindu marriage you must recall when your husband faces adversity. And the reverse holds true as well. If you can be each other's source of strength, your love will always remain strong. Number 3 vow, prosperity. The groom says, "May we grow wealthy and prosperous and strive for the education of our children. May our children live long." The bride replies, "I will love you solely for the rest of my life, as you are my husband. Every other man in my life will be secondary. I vow to remain chaste." This is one of the 7 vows of Hindu marriage that offers a great piece of advice. Build a life with meaning together. Many couples do get hung up on the idea of material wealth and can sometimes drift apart in their pursuit of the same. Building a life that brings joy to the 2 of you is a more apt way to ensure a happy marriage. Vow number 4, living life to the fullest. Groom, You have brought sacredness to my life, and you have completed me. May we be blessed with noble and obedient children. Bride, I will shower you with joy from head to toe. I will strive to please you in every way I can. Vow number 5, sharing happiness and sorrows. Groom, you are my best friend and staunchest well-wisher. You have come into my life enriching it. God bless you. Bride, I promise to love you and cherish you for as long as I live. Your happiness is my happiness and your sorrow is my sorrow. I will trust and honor you and will strive to fulfill all of your wishes. When it comes to the 7 vows of Hindu marriage that set accurate expectations of married life, this is it. The two of you are officially a team and must function in tandem. Prioritize each other's feelings and you'll be fine. Vow number 6, 2 bodies, 1 soul. Groom, may you be fulfilled with joy and peace. Bride, I will always be by your side. And finally, vow 7. Finally, husband and wife now. Groom, we are now husband and wife and are one. You are mine and I am yours for eternity. Bride, as God is witness, I am now your wife. We will love and honor and cherish each other forever. These 7 vows of Hindu marriage are sacred and offer insights into navigating the early years of your marriage when things are still quite new. This has been Baba Gonesh with this dramatic reading. Live from Punjab in lockdown day 471. Alrighty, here we go. Big time. Literally, big time. We have Phillip Donald. Welcome back to the studio.
Hey, guys.
Phillip!
Hey, it is so good to see you.
Thank you for having me. I love what you've done with the place. It's, I see the studio has gone through some renovations since I was last here.
Well, we had to reconfigure some things to accommodate your presence.
Had to move some things around.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last time you were here was when you were promoting what was going to be your Kitty album, but we'll get to that in a little bit. How you been?
I have been, it's been a year, a period of growth in my life, really.
Well, the last time we saw you in the flesh was back on episode 100 when you came out to the barn to perform your new song, Break Loose. And as we understand it, you were planning to spend some time writing and recording new material for the for your next album after your debut album. But then COVID hit. How did you cope with all of that? And were you in any way impacted from a health standpoint?
Well, Chris, I don't know if you know this about me, but I do cope with food. And especially with me being in a more at-risk category due to my obesity, I was a little worried. So, and especially with there being nowhere to go last year, food became an even closer companion. But do you want to know what the slap in the face was for me that really got me to cut back a little?
What was that?
Yeah, tell us.
Toilet paper shortage. I was blowing through it like a sleeve of fig Newtons, and then the national toilet paper shortage made me realize that, maybe it was time to stop overfilling the food processor, if you know what I mean.
Oh boy, I could imagine that was really difficult on you. And if we had known, we would have taken up a collection.
So then I started turning to writing more music and kind of, using that as kind of a coping mechanism, more so than the food. So
that's great.
That was a big improvement for me.
So we're going to get to a little bit of that in a little bit. I'd like to kind of go through some history here. So I've been telling our audience all along about the time when you and Allie first met. I think it was back in 2010 when Allie, I think you were I don't know if that was 6th grade.
Yeah, it was 6th grade.
But I've been accused of embellishing the story a little bit each time I tell it. So for those who are tuning in for the first time and hearing you for the first time, can you set the record straight on what really took place on that day that you both met?
Yes, because, I've had a history of being misunderstood, as you know, and, I don't want any of the details to get more skewed each time, so I will set it straight. As you know, I love giving back to the community. I love paying it forward, having bake sales and sandwich sales near playgrounds, because, cafeteria lunches they suck. So I like to give better food to the kids. So I was having my sandwich and bake sale near the playground one day, as I often used to do. I haven't really, since my incident a couple years ago, haven't done it as often. But Allie happened to be walking by on the bike path and stopped as she heard me singing Swanee River to myself. And we got to talking about music and sandwiches, and she said that the two of you were looking for some talent to showcase on this podcast of yours. And I guess I viewed it as my big break, and really the rest is history.
Yeah. And Allie came home and told me about you.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly after we brought you on to our show and introduced you to our fans, you then released several tracks, which became your first album called Such a Good Ugly Thing, Greatest Hits.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we've got your first album with the autograph picture all framed here in the studio. It's part of our history. As far as I remember or know, that this is the first time that in music history that I'm aware of that somebody actually had a debut album called Greatest Hits. And so,
Right.
Why did you decide to create a Greatest Hits as your first title?
So when you're skimming the CD aisle, let's say, or the vinyl aisle, and you notice an album that reads Greatest Hits, you automatically know it's going to be a collection of the best songs, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I wanted people to go into my album with the same assumption that these were going to be some of the best songs out there. I didn't want people to think Phillip Donald, never heard of that guy, and just walking past. I instead wanted people to think, Phillip Donald? Greatest Hits? How did I ever miss this guy's music? And then they buy my album because they think they've been sleeping on this great music over the years. And so really, it's kind of a psychological thing. It's a music biz thing, really.
Makes sense.
So it was all a marketing thing. Oh, very good. I think it suited you well. It benefited you quite a bit because it was a big hit. And, our show certainly promoted it for many years. So I'd like to that might be a good place for us to play the title track. Last week we played the live performance, which we'll talk about, but you did perform this song live for our 30th anniversary, the Carlisle show, which was
great.
a fantastic performance.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
here is the original studio track, Such a Good Ugly Thing. Phillip Donald on the SmorgShow podcast.
I really appreciate you all listening to me tonight when I present to you a song that I wrote called Such a Good Ugly Thing. Hope you like it. Every time I see you, it causes me to shrink, 'cause I can't seem to see that ugly face of yours. But despite your features, you're one really. Oh, how do I really put this? You're such a good ugly thing. Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Such a good, ugly thing. You always give me scares. And every night you appear in the nightmares that you give me. Oh, you're such a good, ugly that bad. 'Cause you're always there to hold onto my hand with your claws. Such a good ugly thing. Oh, how I love you. Such a good ugly thing. Oh yeah. I love you, Granny. This is for and about you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, that was great. A couple of years after that album, you started to work on a collection of songs for children. I believe the working title of that album was For the Kiddies, and Hide and Seek was the first track that was released, but then we didn't hear anything more about it. Whatever came of that project?
Well, you know, it didn't really go over well with my publicist at the time. I thought it was going to be a hit and that I would be the next Rafi. You know, I think I explained on my last time here on the show that I really felt like, you know, it was my calling to, you know, do things for the little kiddies. But my publicist basically told me that he didn't want to have an album that was traumatizing to children on his conscience, and I guess you could call it creative differences, but needless to say, he eventually quit. And so maybe it is time that I kind of dig up from the archives all of the unreleased kiddie songs.
Yeah, would love to
I
hear
went
it.
back to an old interview that Allie and I did with you right after that song came out, and I think you had some turmoil going on with your triangle player who had suggested against going the kiddie route. So are you still working with your triangle player?
The band broke up, actually, and, you know, I guess you could say it's a little bit of an ELO and Jeff Lynne type of thing, where it's purely just me. The production, the creative mastermind, I am Phillip Donald.
And
Yes,
we
you
can
are.
definitely hear a difference musically in your latest material, which we're going to get a chance to play in a short bit. But right now, since we are still back in the history mode of this discussion, we're going to play Hide and Seek. This is from the supposed album that was going to come out For the Kiddies, but this is a rare track of Phillip Donald. Hide and Seek on the SmorgShow podcast.
Find a hiding place while I count to 10. Are you ready or not? 'Cause here I come. I search high and low. This is so much fun. Will you come play hide and seek with me? Marco,
Hello.
where are you?
You're getting warmer.
Ha 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 ha. Oh, how I love to play with you. La la la. La 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 la. Marco,
Hello.
where are you?
You're getting warmer.
Oh, oh, how I love to play with you. Found you.
Musically brilliant. So we're back here in the studio interviewing Phillip Donald. We then lost touch with you for about 5 or 6 years, I would say. And then I believe you entered in what I would call a dark period. We got word that you had been arrested for lewd public behavior to be specific, on a school playground. You say it was a misunderstanding. We would like to give you the opportunity here to set the record straight here with all of your fans. What really happened on that day?
You know, I don't necessarily like to revisit this period, but I'm gonna give it one last explanation, as I feel like I've tried to set myself straight, try to set the record straight, but I'm gonna do it one more time. Again, doing what I love, pouring everything that I have into the community, giving back, having my bake sale outside of the playground, and waiting for the kiddies to come out of school, in hopes of just, you know, brightening some kids' days. And I believe I explained last time that there was a little kid that came up to my table, asked if I had a specific cookie. I think he was looking for some shortbread. And I had told him that I had a lot more in my van, and being the nice and courteous person I was, I decided to escort him to my van. He followed me, and I guess one of the moms of the kids on the playground, saw this, reported it to the police, reported a suspicious character in tight pants, luring kids in his van. It really was just a whole blown out of proportion misunderstanding. And of course there was no point in defending myself. It just did not look good. So long story short, I brought a kid to my van to show him my shortbread, and that's what happened. And I'm sticking to it, but, life goes on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that meant you had to go to prison. I think you were there for about 18 months. What was that experience like for you?
Well, if I'm being perfectly honest, it actually wasn't as bad as you'd think initially. All amenities and food are paid for, and it really couldn't have happened at a better time. Because I was living off of a recording artist's salary and hadn't really had many record sales lately, at the time. But the beds don't offer very good lumbar support, and portion sizes could be bigger. And really, I think I go into that imagery in my single "Break Loose," which I believe we're going to be playing shortly.
Yes, we are. Your song "Break Loose" was about your time in prison. This material was quite a departure from the usual carefree, uplifting lyrics that you've been known for writing over the years. Personally, I think the lyrics of that song were certainly the most powerful of anything that you had written up to that point. Was this song written while you were in prison, or did it come to you after you left?
No, it was actually 100% written in prison, and I take pride in that. It was written in stages, really. The lyrics referring to, feeling misunderstood, those came out towards the beginning of being locked up. The rest of it just came to me during the remainder of my time there. And let me tell you, the inspiration, it's fresh in prison. I mean, if you ever hit writer's block while prepping podcast material, I mean, that's the place to go.
That's good to know. I'll have to keep that in mind. All right, so I think we should play that song. This came out towards the end of 2018, I believe. Or was it 2019? I don't remember.
2018, I believe.
Yes, you're right. Let's play that now here on the SmorgShow podcast.
I'm not the kind of guy you think I am. Sophisticated all around, I even roast yams. So don't you say I don't have class. I'm not the roaming creep that they say I am. Don't make your accusations just because I drive a van. They took my every pound of dignity. How many times do I have to say it's not me that you should be taking away? I've got 3 bags of candy still left inside, but officers are clear about taking bribes. Why is it a crime if I decide to share my smile with you? Here I wallow in my thoughts, just hoping I will soon break loose. I've got to break loose. I never even got the chance to explain. Now there's local news alerts and orders of restraint. How will I ever tell my mom I'm sleeping on a bed with no lumbar support? Breakfast tallies on the wall and lyrics to this song, hoping that I won't be here for long. Why is it a crime if I decide to share my smile with you? Here I wallow in my thoughts, just hoping I will soon break loose. Well, I broke loose, so here I am, the real me. Oh yeah.
All right, that's Break Loose by Phillip Donald. We're back here with Phillip Donald in the studio, promoting his latest album, Break Loose. So last month you revealed the full track listing for your new album, Break Loose, and from what we can tell, it's somewhat of a concept album, I would say, starting with the title track, which was clearly about your time in prison, but then COVID was, in a way, another version of prison in terms of being isolated. So is that correct? And what really inspired you to write the rest of the material on this album?
Yes, I mean, the parallels are really striking, aren't they? And it is really two different types of imprisonment, but I'm glad you caught the metaphor and what I was trying to convey there. Like I said, inspiration is fresh in prison, and that's not even just physical prison. It was no different when I was feeling imprisoned just from being isolated all of last year. The inspiration kept coming, and I had to get it all down on paper. And I really think it's from being in your head constantly and having to really let it all gush out. An intellectual detox, if you will. But yeah, it kind of worked out that way, that I, originally started writing with, my single Break Loose before even knowing what was going to happen with the lockdowns and with the isolation. And so it kind of just landed in my lap.
And what a lap it is. You also revealed your new album cover artwork, which has been posted on our website. We're getting a lot of great feedback on it. Can you tell us what your inspiration was for the album cover? It appears you've been working out.
Oh, well, thank you for the compliment on my figure. It really has been all diet related. I figured I would rather eat my calories rather than drink them, so I order diet soda now. But in regards to the album cover, it's really supposed to evoke the feeling of being stranded, stuck in the sand, looking out longingly into the ocean with no access to a boat. So that's really what I was trying to portray there.
That's great. Tell us a little bit about the next single, which was just recently released. We aired it for the first time on the last episode, Uber Friend.
Well, this is a song that I think many people can relate to. We all got very well accustomed with, home food delivery services last year, such as Uber Eats and DoorDash, at the height of everything. And so I would say that this is one of the more lighthearted and upbeat songs featured on the album, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
Yeah.
Did you actually really make friends with anybody in particular when you were ordering from Uber Eats?
Well, for a while I was kind of getting the same couple of names, and so, I tried to, make acquaintances, be friendly with these people, but then eventually, after having a lengthy conversation with all of them, then I started, then seeing new people, and I would get, friendly with that Uber driver, and then I would get a new one, so, and then I wouldn't see them again after that. So I really
not to
tried
go back.
my best to, put myself out there, try to bring smiles to people's faces in the midst of, maybe feeling a little bit hopeless. So really, I try to make friends with everyone I meet.
Well, I think it's a great song, and for those who missed it on the last episode, we are going to play it here. This is the latest single from Break Loose, and it's called Uber Friend by Phillip Donald on the SmorgShow podcast.
One more towel wipe across my head. I'll tell you what's going down. Got my glucose meter and my stretch pants too. I open Uber Eats and go to town. I place my order and I hit Let's submit and check the wait time. 45 minutes. I track his route on GPS. There's no sprints on my window glass. My tummy is turning, but I can't tell if it's the butterflies or that I haven't eaten since 12. He's got my food in hand. Here comes my Uber friend. A pepperoni pizza and a side of hot wings. A chimichanga dinner with chips. It won't be long before my buddy arrives and my hearty feast meets my lips. I check my order status to see if it's time, but it's been a minute and my stomach is whining. I track his route on GPS. There's no sprints on the window glass. My tummy is turning, but I can't tell if it's the butterflies or that I haven't eaten since 12. He's got my food in hand. Here comes my Uber friend. We've gotten rather close, you see. There's details that he knows of me, details that he says he did not need. Fills my every need, bringing dinner, that's the deal. He's lucky that it's me he feeds with what I order. You should see the fees. I track his route on GPS. There's no sprints on the window glass. My tummy is turning, but I can't tell if it's the butterflies or that I haven't eaten since 12. He's got my food in hand. You think that he's Superman? He's bringing soup and bread. Here comes my Uber friend. It's my Uber friend. Come on in.
Wow, that was great.
All right, we're back. That's Uber friend Phillip Donald in the studio here with Chris and Allie on this latest episode of the SmorgShow podcast. Phillip, do you have any plans to continue to promote this album? And are there any plans to tour?
Oh, I would love to go on tour. The plan is to release, a few singles one at a time on this album and then release the rest of it all at once and then to go on tour. The problem is finding venues that will let me play. I don't understand it, but a lot of places actually have photos of me on their bulletin boards as you walk in.
Yikes.
And you'd think that they would be very eager to have me on their stage if they're such big fans, but I've been getting a lot of pushback in trying to find some venues to play at, so having a little, some difficulties there, but I'm hoping that, after this album has kind of, released, then, maybe I'll have some luck.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely do what we can to help promote your tour.
Yeah, definitely.
And get you the exposure you need. This last question actually came in from our audience. We had asked for some people to submit questions if they had one for you. This one comes from obviously a very big fan going back many years, because they're asking, how is Granny and who is Lily?
Oh, wow.
Oh, well, I think on the last interview I may have updated you both that Granny was in assisted living.
Mm-hmm.
She's still there and she's doing well. The tables have actually turned a bit where I've sort of become a caretaker like she was to me for so many years. And let's just say that Lily is the one that got away.
That makes total sense now. Yeah, I think at the end of one of your songs from your first album,
mm-hmm.
you made a reference to Lily, and we always wondered who that was. So thank you for clearing that up.
Absolutely.
Well, Phillip, I think this is at the end of our interview here. We really appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me out.
And do you need any help getting back into your van?
I might need a little help up the stairs, or, at least a little push through the door.
Okay. We'll get the hydraulic fired up again. Thank you so much, Phillip.
Thanks, Phillip.
Toodaloo.
All right.
What a show.
What a show. Thanks for coming back, Allie.
Yeah, we had a little bit of, we felt like old times, and then, of course, felt like old times with having Phillip back in the studio, too.
That's
So,
right.
Good to see everybody.
Well, I'm sure we're going to do something around your wedding. I'm sure my speech will be recorded. It'll probably be played here.
Oh, definitely. We have to.
Yeah.
We have to have it on here.
Yeah. So we'll be in touch, and good luck.
Stay cool, everybody.
Stay cool. We'll be back for another episode very soon. Thanks for listening.
Who wipes their butt on a burger?